So we're going to move on again. Our next person is Keegan Smith, and Keegan is a totally cool guy. Keegan runs a massive coaching platform that's really about making. It started with making coaches better, and then it just became about making this giant community and making everybody better. Real Movement is what it's called, and they're just phenomenal. They have amazing coaches. Keegan spent the last year doing like a body composition experiment, and he's had these long-term goals for strength and movement and flexibility and endurance, and just phenomenal. And he has a tremendous community, and he's actually, one of the things they do, he's actually going to teach about juggling. Okay, he's also going to teach about the idea behind why they juggle, because it's not just the coordination, it's the life-building skill behind it. So I think you'll enjoy his presentation, and he's something else. So we're going to move on again. Our next person is Keegan Smith, and Keegan is a totally cool guy. Keegan runs a massive coaching platform that's really about making. It started with making coaches better, and then it just became about making this giant community and making everybody better. Real Movement is what it's called, and they're just phenomenal. They have amazing coaches. Keegan spent the last year doing like a body composition experiment, and he's had these long-term goals for strength and movement and flexibility and endurance, and just phenomenal. And he has a tremendous community, and he's actually, one of the things they do, he's actually going to teach about juggling. Okay, he's also going to teach about the idea behind why they juggle, because it's not just the coordination, it's the life-building skill behind it. So I think you'll enjoy his presentation, and he's something else.
Keegan Smith here. I'm super excited to be a part of this. Really honored that Bud gave me the opportunity to participate. I did know Bud while Noah was still around, and it was super inspiring to hear his stories and all the things that he achieved in such a short lifetime. But he left a massive impact, and I'm proud to be part of it. So my story a little bit is that I worked with professional rugby, and I've always been really passionate about strength because it didn't become very natural to me. But I'm passionate about learning, coaching. My father's a coach in professional sports, and I've always been in that environment. Ended up working with professional rugby teams, and then left that to work with other coaches and coach coaches. Biggest thing I would say that's kind of a point of difference, and what I'd like to share with you today, is really focusing on our ability to change our minds and our ability to adapt to new circumstances. And strength training is a great way to do that. But we also include elements of circus and things like that, which help people get out of their comfort zone to be able to take on new challenges and open new doors. Often I meet coaches that have massive potential, but there are blocks in being concerned that other people won't accept their skills and what they want to share with the world, and that stops them from really expressing their gifts. So Bud is the ultimate expression of this, of do it your own way, go as hard as you can, and don't worry too much about people who don't agree with your approach or whatever. So the skill of juggling is one that you can pick up quite quickly. If you've never tried to do it before, then working along with me today, you can get you could get 2 pairs of socks, you could get some lemons, oranges, maybe not tomatoes, maybe not raw eggs, but you get the idea. Anything will work there. All you really need to get started is to get one ball in the air, and when it hits the top, so it's going to hit a spot around here, I'm going to launch the other ball. Okay, so that's our first real challenge, is to get the second ball in the air. Sometimes if you haven't done any ball sports for quite a while, you might actually need to just throw them and let them hit the floor. By letting them hit the floor, you stop worrying about having to catch them. As this becomes more comfortable, you can do it to a greater height. And you'll notice that your brain is already adapting, neuroplasticity. Some of the reps may not go exactly to plan. One of the common things that will happen is people instinctively kind of do this thing because maybe they were taught to sort of 3-ball juggle like that. And that sort of puts a pattern in that doesn't serve us in this way. So a lot of us, we do have patterns in our brains that don't serve us. this shows that you can rewire a pattern in a matter of minutes. Like, we are so adaptable and have so much ability to change. I think juggling is actually the best tool to show that, you know, with the strength training, you get some adaptation session to session, but there's a lot of physical change that needs to happen with the muscle structure, etc. With skills, it's really minute to minute that you're noticing the difference. Like, we are so highly adaptable. Some say that we're actually just kind of antennas and we're bringing in the knowledge and consciousness from our environment. That kind of makes sense with how quickly we can actually adapt to these things. So if you have got that 1, 2, 1, 2, you want to work on it from both sides. If you need to, you know, stop this or watch it back or take notes and come back to it later, you want to be able to do 5 times from each side. You can play around with a little bit lower and higher, which will also just same but different. We use that in strength training as well. Same but different, slight variations, the footwear that you're using, front squat, back squat, high bar, low bar, all those slight differences, different shoes, etc. They create new learning, which is part of progression. Okay, Louis Simmons is a big advocate for that, but obviously Bud, with his unconventional approach to strength training, creates extreme strength results. So you want to use those same principles here. It's a principle of learning. It's not just a principle of strength. Strength training is really a form of learning, and we're just accelerating that for us today. So I'm inviting the opportunity to experience life at a higher level, at a better level, through wiring in more of what you want. So you can wire in patterns that you want, or you can wire in patterns that you don't want. It's all habits. So once this becomes a habit, I don't need to think about the balls. I don't need to watch them. It just juggles. It juggles. Like, I don't know if I'm juggling any more than I'm beating my heart. Like, it's just done. I can continue the conversation exactly the same way because it's fully automatic. So the things in your life that are fully automatic that you love, and the things that are fully automatic that you probably don't really like that much. So bringing awareness to them, and this is a good game for, well, what if the left hand is doing something else? So you bring more awareness to the left hand and say, oh yeah, the left hand's throwing a lot higher. Okay, so by identifying that pattern, or having a coach work with you and identify, hey, that left is going a lot higher, let's exaggerate, let's do a drill, and let's try and make the left one go a lot lower. Let's throw the right one higher and see what happens. So that's the benefit of coaching, is you bring awareness to what's breaking down in the pattern. When you teach people to juggle, you learn a lot about coaching, you learn a lot about patience, and you see great change. Like, it's great to coach a squat and to look at those, you know, minute details and refine and refine and refine. But when you go to a whole new skill, and as adults, it's often kind of awkward for us also to learn new things. We feel uncomfortable of, you know, what if I can't? You know, some people will have already tuned out because they'll be like, no, I can't juggle. I've tried before, I can't juggle. Or, you know, why would I try when I might fail, etc. Where the great things in life and the ability to go to new levels comes from new learning. Like, there has to be new information. There has to be a role model. So maybe, you know, I can be a role model with juggling. I'm not the world's best juggler, but I have taught it to lots and lots of people and use it as a tool, as a springboard for other new learning. So here we go with 3 balls. The first goal, 1, 2, 3. It's exactly what we've just done. 1, 2. We're going to go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You notice those rhythms are very different. You can also play around with that. If you go faster, it's going to be much harder if the 3 balls are in the air at the same time. If you almost let the ball come down before the next one goes, that also puts some pressure on. All these subtle variations, you're just going for 1, 2, 3, stop. 1, 2, 3, stop. Again, you're going for, if you can get 5 each side, we want to balance this stuff out left and right. The more ambidextrous we can become with our skills, the higher we will be able to go. With juggling, you have to be ambidextrous, but every skill should actually be done equally left and right to achieve the highest standard. You know, Ben Patrick, who I've been doing a lot of work with over the last couple of years, knees over toes guy, has taken a lot of people's jumping to the next level by putting as much effort into dunking off the other foot as the dominant foot. And by making that adjustment, people find new levels, right? So to bring increased integration between left side of the brain and right side of the brain. The corpus callosum has been proven to become more dense. We get an increase in white matter and gray matter. It's one of the few exercises that have been shown to do that. So if you want a denser, more functional brain that you can go and apply and use to many different aspects, then juggling is one of the great things that you can do. Whether you want to use that to be better in business, to be better in relationships, a better brain is going to help to serve that, and a more adaptable brain. So it's a concept that one of my mentors, Paul Council, talks about, mind flex. That's what we want. Okay, so we want to get this 3-ball juggling down. Little challenge is to get to the point of being able to 3-ball juggle for a minute. Like, that's our first goal. Sometimes with coaching, with direct feedback and encouragement, and making the right adjustments to the where the pattern is breaking down, bringing attention to exactly where work needs to be done. Sometimes we can get to that minute of juggling in the first day, in the first hour. It depends really how much foundation you have in ball sports. So the higher your level of coordination, if you've played a lot of table tennis, if you played a lot of basketball, etc., then boxers also are really good at picking up juggling very quickly. It's not genetic, it's environmental. It's how much you've actually been doing. And as soon as you don't use your hands and your eyes very much, then they don't work as well. I've introduced this to a lot of rugby players, and they report just sticking catches that they would never have stuck before. And so it is kind of a superpower that allows you to take on a lot of other skills. We also do it with the feet. We do handstands and those sorts of things as well. Spatial awareness, I guess you could say in some ways it's like the generalist approach, inspired by guys like Ido Portal, but massively by circus. The ability to, the circus performer, you get to explore your physicality, express that, inspire others as a profession. Like when people call me a clown, I say, thank you, but maybe one day. So challenging then as we go further, and if you can already do this, or you've got it quite quickly, like throwing the balls higher. Here I've got the roof, so I can actually throw them harder and speed up my juggling. So I'm practicing harder throws and a higher speed. So even though it's the same drill, we're getting another level of intensity. We can also go for speed down low. Okay, so how many throws can we get in 15 seconds? Chuck it on your Instagram story, tag me in there, @KeeganReal, and I'll repost it. But yeah, little games like that, they encourage us to play along. Like, it needs to be gamified. We call it Strength Training 4.0. My company is Real Movement, a coach education company. Strength Training 4.0 has to have a gamification component to it. If it's not gamified, then it's not going to be sticky for the 21st century. And we know that most people in the 21st century are not, physically well developed or mentally. And, we need to change that. We need to gamify things to change that. So everything that we do is kind of gamified in a way that, you can see a sense of achievement, a movement from one day to the next, to encourage that stickiness, to encourage people to stay with the process. And while some coaches are highly motivated, even for us, like, a lot of times we do need that extra bit of motivation, but then also in passing that on as a tool, giving it to parents and encouraging them to take it home to their kids. If you can teach some parents how to juggle, there's a very good chance that their children are going to grow up juggling. And I believe that mind flexibility to adopt new patterns and rewire is super, super valuable. To get to the 4-ball juggle, we just really need to be able to do 2 balls in one hand on both sides quite comfortably. If you've kind of got that, then the drill that you want to stick with for a very long time before you get too excited about 4-ball is just 2 + 1. Okay, so 2 in the left, 2 in the right at the moment, 1 in the left, and you'll notice it's offbeat. So it's not this one. That's also good to practice, and a lot of people will start practicing this, but you want that alternate 4-ball as well, because it's going to feed towards 5-ball, towards 6-ball. There's no limit It took me a long time to get that 4-ball down. And then I was like, I'm never going to go near 5-ball. I don't really want to do that. But then I did. And, I ended up getting to the 5-ball. The roof is a little bit low for it here. And you probably don't really care, because the fun is not in watching someone else do it. The fun is in you doing it. And then you teaching other people to do it so that they can experience it. This one's Mill's Mess. It looks quite funky, but there's infinite number of variations of our 3-ball swaps and things like that. Under the legs, around the back, all those sorts of things. They're developing dexterity, developing new brain connections. But even within 10 throws of throwing around the back, like the first couple, they might be a bit weird. 10 throws later, you're actually starting to do it. And then if I challenge you, what if you did 3 in a row? You might just throw 3 in a row, where at the start it might feel really uncomfortable. So that neuroplasticity, the brain can rewire. You can become whatever you want to become. It's a levels thing, right? So that 2-ball drill that we're doing, a lot of people can pick that up in a couple of minutes. Some people will get it straight off the bat without missing a rep if they've done a lot of ball sports and stuff before. For others, it may take an hour, it may take a week. Elderly person, small child, it's going to take longer, and that's okay. But for a lot of people, that's not so difficult. The 3-ball, a little bit more difficult. The 4-ball, a little bit more difficult. So that's the game. Is like the higher standard you want to live to, the further you want to go with your business, the more balls you're adding, the more time it's going to take, the more dedication it's going to require, and the better teacher you need, the better mentor you need. Bud can take people to a 1,000-pound squat because he's done it, because he's walked that path, and he's done it a number of times in all sorts of different ways in the way that he does. So to be able to, the higher your goals are, the more neuroplasticity it's going to require. So mind flex is a concept that my mentor Paul Council has introduced me to. And he works mostly with increasing people's finances and helping people to be free through having enough money to make the decisions they want, to have the life that they want. I know for some people that's like triggering, of like talking about money and talking about financial abundance and whatnot, but it's all still the same game. Whatever it is for you, it's a skill that can be learned, and the 5-ball is going to take years. So if you wanted to give a great TEDx speech, which is maybe something that I would like to work towards in the future, then you may actually want to, it may be a 5-year journey, and maybe, like that 5-ball juggling where you have to be practicing every day and refining. It's okay. Like, the time is going to go somewhere. So what are you going to put it into? That's the challenge. And some would make the argument that putting it into juggling is a waste of time. But compared to the return on investment of where a lot of people are putting their time, you can have a lot of fun with this, but it's a great reinforcing tool. Hey, I can learn. Hey, I can make other things happen. I first learned to juggle when I was in Mexico. I was in Mexico first, then I was in Guatemala. I was in a bar. I was about to go and volunteer at an orphanage. I was like 22, 23 years old, and I really wanted to experience what it was like to live amongst in that environment, with very little financial resource, etc. And I had to work in a bar for a couple of weeks before I was allowed to go to the orphanage. The projects were connected, and that was the way it worked. I hid out the back at some stage where I was not that interested in dealing with drunk people, and I wasn't in the mood of the party, and juggled limes. And I taught myself to juggle by juggling limes in the back of a bar in a backpackers in Guatemala. But at the same time, I was learning Spanish, and then at the same time, just after that, I learned guitar. And these were all things that I was told I couldn't do. I tried to juggle a number of times as a child, so that's why it really means something to me. I was told I wasn't very good at learning languages. I became fluent in Spanish, later became fluent in French. I know bits of German, Polish, Portuguese, and a couple of other languages. So I'm not saying this to brag. I'm just saying this as there are new skills that can be learned, and when you learn those new skills, then it opens up other doors. So I hadn't really grown up in a business environment, and now I've had multiple successful businesses. I've worked in my own business since 2014. I always wanted that level of freedom, but it wasn't something that I grew up around. Everybody had jobs, and the idea of having a business was kind of foreign and scary, to me. So that entrepreneurial side, it was, it took time. Like I started with, this stuff of like, how does this even work? What do I do? What do I say? How can I build a product, etc. And now I've helped hundreds of coaches around the world to explore what they want to do, develop their gifts. Hopefully Lucas Aaron is going to be part of this. He works with us with Real Movement. And, the whole range of strength thing has developed over the last 12 months. And, I love seeing those journeys. Ben Patrick had, 50 coaches working with him. He had 50 clients when we started, chatting and whatnot. And I said, look, you've got something very special. Like the world needs to see more of this. Now there's like 6,500 members. And he's one of the, the fastest growing online coaches in the world. It's not my credit, but the journey that I'd been on, he'd been watching my journey, me believing in him helped. So sometimes that's the trick, I believed in his belief in me is the kind of a line that I throw around. So I believe you have the ability to juggle. I've just shown you some of the steps. If I was there with you, I could talk you more through the process. You might not have the desire to juggle, but I encourage you to take it on as an exercise in mind flex. And then the 3-ball juggling is not a long journey. And then go and take that and do whatever it is that you're most inspired to serve the world with. Like my biggest service is coaching coaches and supporting coaches to believe in themselves more, to have more courage to express messages that may not be conventional, that may not be popular, they may get pushback, etc. But if you believe in it with your heart and your head, and you've done the research and it works, then express it and don't be scared of the naysayers. And so I hope that you really got something out of that today. And if you listen to this and you want to reach out, I'd love to hear where you're up to, what you're doing with yourself. If you did take on some juggling, I'd love to see that too. Thank you, Bud, for the opportunity to be involved with this. There's so many legends of strength from lots of different areas and other interesting people. So I'm really proud to be a part of it. And I think the legacy that Noah has created and what Bud is doing with his life are really, really powerful examples. So I thank them very much for this, and make sure you reach out to Bud as well, and support the cause and support Bud on his journey, because he really is a special human that is doing great things for a lot of people, including me. He's helped me out a lot and taught me a bunch of stuff over the years. So thank you, Bud. Thank you, everyone. Keegan Smith signing off.
All right. Thank you so much, Keegan. Dude, we're all so aligned in concepts, and some of the other guys that are going to come up later are going to talk more about this concept. You're talking about the neuroplasticity concept, the mind flex concepts, the idea of using the body to build the mind, to build a better service vehicle to help the world or journey or whatever. And that's what we try to teach Noah. That's what our life is about. That's why you've gone through the whole juggling thing. That's why you see me throwing ridiculous flaming axes at stuff over and over and over again. Okay, because what people don't see with the social media aspect of a lot of this is they see you juggling, but they didn't know the story behind that. You taught yourself to juggle in a bar, behind a bar in Guatemala, or that you were told you couldn't do it, and then it became very important to you to do, and that the longer the journey is, the more ability you're giving your mind to be able to do those things. It's when I throw those axes or different things like that, what you're not seeing is that there's a base, and then there's another move, and there's another move. And if I can do it this way, can I do it that way? And then if I can do it that way, can I do it upside down or backward or forward? Or can I do it while I'm distracted, or I'm holding something else? Every one of those things is a mind builder. There's new neural pathways, new neural things that are going on. Absolutely phenomenal, and they apply to every part of life. They apply to business, to physicality, to love, relationships, spiritual. All of those things work together, and dude, I appreciate that so much for you to do that presentation. It really is cool. And here's the thing, man. Like, juggling is one of those things that people don't get. Like, okay, maybe 9 balls might be an issue, but like 3 balls is something people can learn. You really can learn that, and it's every little bit of that is a confidence builder. It's a thing where you, and I didn't even know some of those things about you, man, where like he's fluent in multiple languages because he was told he wasn't going to be. That's taught yourself that. And every bit of that neuroplasticity, those things are the skills of mastery. Once I master one thing, I master the ability to learn other things. I master my own ability to learn and my own ability to sequentially move to higher targets over and over and over again. That's key. That's all. Man, some of the knowledge that's been dropped here and some of the cool, entertaining feats about the life skills and stuff is really freaking cool. So, again, thanks, brother. Appreciate that. And hopefully we'll be working together some soon and doing some cool stuff and definitely hanging out. And thank you again.